Are here with EKU football's week 3 press conference with Coach Walt Wells, and then we're also joined today by running back Josh Carter and defensive back Mike Smith Jr. We're going to start with Coach's opening statements. If anybody has questions, they can text it in the chat or just use the raise hand function, and then we'll open the floor for questions for Coach, and then we'll move into the players. So, Coach, with that, I'll let you take it away with your opening statement.
All right. Obviously disappointed in the results from this weekend. I thought our kids fought hard and played hard, but we've got to clean up some of the mistakes that we made and be a little more consistent in what we do to be able to beat a team on the FBS level like Western Kentucky or Mississippi State the past 2 games. With that being said, it's great to be back home at Roy Kidd Stadium and coming into not only a home opener, but a conference opener against West Georgia, who's a talented football team, and beat a really good Sanford team at the first game, and then played Abilene Christian this past weekend really well up until probably the end. And then, looking forward to bringing them here. I know we've got some tough weather. It looks like maybe coming this way, but we need everybody to come out and support these young men because they're working hard and they're playing hard. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
All right. Well, Michael Watkins, you'll lead us off here.
Coach, as far as you on a personal level, what's your favorite part about, first home game and just, kind of seeing everybody back and that type of thing?
Well, I just think it's always fun. There's always good energy at the beginning of the year. I wish we would have the opportunity to play a first game home opener, but I hadn't been able to do that, I don't think, in my tenure here as a head coach, but maybe we have. But it's always good to see the former players. Obviously, the people from the community come out. I think our support staff do a nice job in game day operations, and they really up their game every year as we move forward. And so it's fun to come out. You don't have to worry about travel. You don't have to worry about all the issues that come with that. Not that there's major issues because our people do a good job with that too. But it's just, you get to sleep in your own bed. You get to do some of the things that you enjoy doing, and you've got time. Probably, the biggest thing is you got more time to spend with other people and continue to understand, the importance of the home atmosphere. We've had good crowds here the last couple of years, and so it's something that I think our players look forward to. Their family members coming home, so there's a lot to that.
You talked about the former players and everybody being there. Have you had a chance to talk to any guys that maybe you have coached or maybe you haven't seen in a while that are going to be there on Saturday?
Well, yeah, no, probably not this week. Most guys, there's some local guys that have stuck around here. Tony D. Gregorio rings a bell. Pat Smith, John Klingel, all those guys. They've been on the road with us too. They've been to Mississippi State and Western. So, those guys you'll always see, and they'll be around, and they're tailgating, and the RV lot hopefully will be crowded and people will come in and enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy, Colonel football.
On the weather, and we know when it's windy, it's Roy Kidd Stadium's crazy. It can be really interesting playing there. So for a guy like Matt that hasn't really experienced that yet, how do you go about preparation for the rain and possibly wind that could be a factor on Saturday?
Well, the wind is something we can't control. He's had scrimmages and spring scrimmages and all that, and throws inside there. So he's been around when it's been windy in there, so he kind of understands it. Him and Parker have developed a relationship a little bit, so I'm sure Parker can talk to him about that. And then our coaches obviously will. But the rain, we'll do wet ball drill, we'll do all that stuff, and make sure that they have practice, throwing a wet ball and a soaked ball and taking the snaps and doing all the different things that you have to do.
Last one for me. When you look at this matchup with West Georgia, what do you think is going to be the biggest key for you guys to come out with a victory?
Well, I think we have to come out and play with great energy because they're going to have great energy. At least that's what they've shown on film. And we're going to have to make sure that we win the explosive play battle. They have explosive plays, and we're going to have to create explosive plays on offense. And that's something that we haven't been able to do a whole lot of in the first 2 games. Some of that's been the opponents, but also some of that's been us. And so we have to correct those mistakes and make sure that we identify who's going to be able to get the ball in space and make some things happen. Our run game's been efficient, but our throw game's got to improve.
All right, Cameron Drummond.
Hey there, Walt. Good to see you again. I just wanted to touch on the offense, like you were mentioning there a second ago. Obviously, there hasn't been a ton of explosives through the first 2 weeks, but now that you've been able to digest, the full 2 games on film, what's been the most encouraging thing that you've seen? I know we talked about the running game on Saturday night being a real strength, but after these, 2 FBS opponents, what do you come out with, feeling the best about, for your offense as you go into the first conference game?
Well, I think, the improvement in our offensive line has been good, obviously, with the running game. I think with the short amount of time that Eric Ravelette's been here, it's been nice to see them improve and hitting the right targets and doing some things that we needed to improve on. I think our pass protection has actually not been too bad either for those guys and our running backs that are involved in that. And so, where we've got to continue to develop, and some of that's been because of what happened during training camp, is in our throw game and our receivers and our quarterback being on the same page. And you saw it Saturday night. We had 2 different, we had a 1st and 10 on the first drive when we ran a little sticker out and we were just a little off, and we had a drop, and then it was a 3rd down conversion on a sticker out, and it was another drop. And that one was a little more being on the same page than the first one. We can't have those mistakes, because that's what starts you and gets you in rhythm, especially against good football teams like we played, in Western Kentucky and Mississippi State. And so we've got to have confidence that all that's going to come together and be together. And I think we will. I mean, I think that's part of the process. The Parker, with being here so long, Matt's got to develop that relationship and continue to. And like I said, with the problems we had during training camp with the health, it just kind of put us behind a little bit. All of it's facts, but in the end, nobody cares, and I understand that. We got to continue to push to be able to score some points. And then on defense, we've got to, continue to improve and get it to where, they're not scoring any points.
And lastly, for me, obviously West Georgia coming up, first conference game, and you've been around long enough to know kind of what it takes to be successful when it gets to league play. And week 3 might be a bit early, sometimes to be playing a conference opponent. But what do you think will be the biggest key just for your guys being in the right headspace, the right mental space to be approaching this game, knowing that, hey, it's UAC play, this is where, the hay is really made for you guys this season?
Well, I think that's the one thing that everybody in this building has to understand. We want to win those first 2 games. We go to win those first 2 games. And it's disappointing when we don't win those first 2 games, but we still have 10 games left. I mean, we've got a ton of season left. We've got 3 goals, and they're to be undefeated at Roy Kidd Stadium, win the conference, and go to a national championship and win a national championship. So those are our goals. So let's just talk about the first one. All right, undefeated at Roy Kidd Stadium. Well, that's the number 1 goal on our list, and we've been talking about since spring. So here's your first opportunity, okay, to hit that goal. You can still reach the goal number 2 if that didn't happen, but let's not even talk about that. Let's just talk about, reaching goal number 1, which will help us reach goal number 2. And I think when people really put it into that perspective and get out of their mind what's going on in the last 2 games, then we've got to refocus, reset, and start going towards that season goals. Which is UAC play, FCS playoffs, FCS national championship. And if we'll keep those things the main thing and keep getting better, really is what's important, the main thing, then I think we'll have a chance to do all those things we want.
All right, Coach. It seems like, this is almost the 3rd week in a row where you're almost scouting a team that's completely new to one another in terms of obviously Mississippi State with a new coach, so many new players. You go to Western Kentucky, they'll have so many players come through the transfer portal. Obviously, West Georgia has put more games on film now, but how do you go in and start preparing in terms of obviously new head coach and almost a brand new team from what they've had in the past? How do you prepare for that this weekend?
Well, I mean, we've got two game tapes on them from Sanford and Abilene Christian. Normally you break down 4 or 5, is what you do, but you just, they've got all brand new, a lot of brand new players. They have a wealth of transfers from the transfer portal. So, we just got to continue to watch what they've done on those 2 and worry about what we do and how we would defend or, go against offensively and special teams against what they do. So, you just, study the tape and try to make sure that you make the best decisions possible.
And you've talked a lot about the injuries that you guys had in training camp, particularly at wide receiver. But you have seen flashes. It seems like every game there's been a drive where either Marcus Calwise or Ron Van Jr. or a Jacob Dixon or a West comes in and they start making a few plays. But you've talked about those explosive plays and building consistency. What's it going to take for you guys to kind of find that consistency and that groove when you guys go up against West Georgia this weekend?
Well, you got 3 guys right there that's played 2 games for EKU. And 2 of them have been high school players, and 1 of them was a transfer. So that didn't have spring balls. So when you're talking about guys like that, and that tells you that they're the ones making the plays. So what the other ones aren't yet. We have to continue to work together as a unit. I mean, the biggest thing they have to do is put in extra work after practice, extra work before practice. Come in and watch film together, understand where everybody's going to sit and do the different thing. If this window closes, are you going to advance to the next window, or are you going to sit it down and hope the next guy? Are you running a route for the love of the game, or are you running a route, because the ball's coming your way? All those different things come into play with experience. And so we just have to continue to grow, and they have to grow fast. And, I think the one guy you see making the most plays is Marcus Calwise, because he just comes to work every day and he's been reliable. And those are the things that are important.
And then last question, you're 15-5 all time in your career as a head coach here at Roy Kidd Stadium. Can you talk a little bit about how special it is? I know you've touched on it a little bit, but how special it is and how special that atmosphere is to, open up the season now at home in front of, Colonel Nation.
Yeah. I had no idea about that. I don't look at that too much, but it is special. It's special to the people of Richmond, the people of Madison County, the EKU alum, the former player alum. I think it's important. I think it speaks a lot of what Coach Kidd, obviously, this week is a special week for his family and our football family, and EKU in particular. With his passing almost a year ago, it'll be on Thursday. I think, it just speaks volumes to what he's built, what he built here, what the other coaches that came behind him built, and the importance of football at EKU. And I think, when people come out and support and do that, it's hard not to get up and get ready to play. Unfortunately, I probably remember the 5 we lost, not the 15 we won, but that's just how it goes. And so we got to continue to fight and win those games. And like I said, that's why we want to be undefeated at Roy Kidd Stadium.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you as always.
All right, thank you.
All right, Josh Carter, running back. We will open the floor open for questions for him. Michael Watkins, if you want to lead us off.
Josh, last year, I know you and Braden kind of created a dynamic duo there in the backfield. But now, Braden Latham kind of takes the role that you filled last year with you kind of being the starter now. So talk about that and what you've kind of seen from your and his perspective and how you all kind of play compared to how you and Braden were last year.
I think some things are pretty similar in the sense of, us being in the game at different times, bringing different, aspects to the offense, but also being able to create an explosive play whenever we need to, an explosive run or in the pass game or anything like that. So, I mean, to me, it kind of feels the same. It feels good, just being able to look, and if I'm down the field, being able to know that, hey, like the dude that's in the game is able to, carry the torch to, make that a big explosive play that's going to help our team be in a good situation. Yeah, to me, everything just feels a little bit more similar, just more of a bigger role as far as leadership and, just having a little bit more pressure of, having to make that play. But other than that, everything feels pretty much similar to me. It's just football.
First 2 games, 7 points scored thus far. So for fans that, have seen, maybe not watched much of the first 2 games and just seen the final score, what would you tell them as far as, what you've seen from the offense that might give them some hope or for a reason to still be kind of upbeat and excited about what you all can do when you get things rolling?
Yeah, I mean, there's things that we got to fix. There's, the final score does tell a lot about the story, but it doesn't tell the whole story. we have plays, we have drives that we just, we're look good, we're clicking, we're just not finishing those drives. So something I would say to them is that, just know that we're working and know that we're continuing to strive every day to make that next step. And, just trying to be the best version of ourselves whenever the offense is on the field, just trying to chew some clock, trying to create more explosives because some of the plays are right there and we're just not executing them. So just putting the pressure on everybody to make sure that we have to feel like we need to execute that so we can put points on the board. That's something that I've seen in past years that's not really has been the case so far as, just being in the game. Sometimes the play is there and the play gets made. It's just, some things just don't go our way this year. And that's something that we're working on every day just to keep getting better at.
One for me. How hard did you try to convince Coach Wells? I know there's not a lot of time to do so, but did you try to convince him at all to go for it on that fourth down in the third quarter?
Yeah, I mean, it's not too much convincing you can do at that point. It's not too much convincing you can do at that point. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him for that either, though. You know what I mean? Just trying to get points on the board. Just give ourselves a chance to get back into the game. Um, yeah, it's not it's not too much convincing you can do at that point.
Hey, man.
All right, Cameron.
Hey there, Joshua. Appreciate the time. Just wanted to start by asking about your personal growth this season. You mentioned some of the more leadership things that you kind of have to take on, but where do you think you've evolved the most as a person and player? Just going into this year with all the expectations and what's being asked of you on the field.
Yeah, just like you said, just the leadership role that has just I've been just trying to step up into that role. Just being an older guy, somebody that guys can come to, somebody that guys can, ask questions about if they're not, completely for sure certain of what they have on this play or what the play should look like, how do I see the play, how I see them making the play, like that, all that type of stuff all correlates. And that's something that I really take pride in with myself is that, it feels good knowing that guys trust you enough to ask you questions like that. You know what I mean? Because they're not just asking anybody, but just be able to pick my brain a little bit, being able to pick their brain a little bit, just making sure that we're all on the same railroad, just moving in the same direction.
And lastly, I'm just curious, like, kind of how do you balance that with your own personal production as well? Obviously, you've done some really good things through 2 weeks. Gained a lot of yards, put good stuff on film. But how do you balance maybe being that kind of senior veteran leader with also improving yourself and becoming the best player that you can be to run behind that O line?
So as far as play wise, to me, I just take every game as just as it's life of its own. To me, I prepare as hard as I possibly can, and that way it just feels like a game to me rather than just I have to go out there and maybe or maybe not do my job. Like I'm gonna make sure I'm able to do my job as much as possible because at the end of the day, I feel like I prepared myself to be able to be confident enough to make the plays feel like it's not a really big deal for me. Yeah, that's pretty much it right there.
All right. Josh, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you, man. And then we'll move over to defensive back Mike Smith Jr. And Michael Watkins will let you lead off.
Mike, I know you probably, just knowing you for like I do, you probably don't like how you've played the first two games. But looking at the numbers, looking at the film, you've had a pretty good game in these first two games out there. So, talk about the way you feel like you've played in the defense as a whole, as you guys have played against two pretty good teams in these first 2 weeks.
I feel like you talking about like me personally.
You and the team, both of you.
As a team, it's a lot of stuff that we have to clean up. First two games. It's kind of tough playing. FCC school first game, new team. We gelling together. We had a couple of hiccups, but we fixed them. You feel me? As a defense, in the second game, I feel like we came out playing a little better. You know what I'm saying? Than last week, we cleaned up some mistakes that we messed up on last week. We played better, especially in the back end. Safeties and corners. Me personally, my performance the first two games, I feel like I was flying around both games. You know what I'm saying? Not trying to do too much, just doing my job. Controlling what I can control for real.
Well, let's talk about with this being the first home game. As a senior leader, have you had any conversation with guys like Matt or some of the newer guys that haven't really experienced a home game at RKS and what it could be like, what to expect, especially with the weather being, what it's predicted to be? Have you had any conversation with those guys as far as what they need to do to prepare?
Yes, we talk all the time, make sure I keep my team up. But specifically about the home game coming up, with the wet game, I'm just right now, I'm just emphasizing this week how important it is for us to get in that win bracket. And, this is conference play now, so it's a big game. We kind of go into each game, with a certain mindset. So it don't really matter what we play at, you feel what I'm saying? But it's definitely gonna be important at Red Kid for sure, because like you don't want nobody coming into your house and taking what you got. So, I've been stressing that this week. I'm definitely gonna be stressing that this week for sure.
Being the first conference game as well. This is the last one for me, by the way. With it being the first conference game, are you guys adding any more, emphasis or pressure on this game as well because of that?
It's not really any more pressure. Like I said, we go into every game with the same kind of mindset, but it's obviously is a conference game, so this actually going to count for like us winning conference, us being conference champs or whatever. So we're definitely toned in, to this game for sure. And then we need a win. You feel me? We need to get in the win column. So it's gonna be a big game, a good test game for us for sure.
Saturday, buddy.
Yeah. All right, Mike. And then, one question for me. Obviously, some newcomers in the defensive backfield. You guys probably have learned a lot through these first 2 weeks against FBS opponents. What are some takeaways that you guys have had as a unit as you guys now prepare for your FCS schedule and your conference opener this Saturday?
Some things that we have learned, just the player technique, you go through it in practice all the time, but when you get in the game, sometimes, because of the atmosphere or whatever, some people may lose like a little bit of confidence or a little bit of technique that they've been practicing for a long time. So, and communication, like communication is key, knowing those big FBS games, the stadium's big, so it'd be hard to communicate. So, I feel like that most definitely prepared us for what we have coming up in FCS opponents, and then the game speed is a little faster FBS. So I feel like that definitely prepared us, and then we're communicating on a high level now. So we'll be ready to go for sure.
All right, Mike, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you. Thank you to all the media members who joined today. You can expect game notes coming out later this afternoon. And that will do it for our week 3 press conference here at EKU football. Thank you all.